So we're still focusing on the markets. Let's talk to Ibrahim Babalola now, who is an investment analyst with AfriInvest. He's going to give us a wrap of what the week has been like for the equities market, down into the fixed income market. And of course, as we count down to the second MPC meeting for the year, and what the expectations from the market is likely going to be. Ibrahim, good morning, and it's great to have you join me on the program.
Good morning, Harriet. Thank you for having me.
So it's been quite an interesting week, very busy week, starting from Monday up until yesterday. So we had the FGN bonds, FGN savings bond, we have the FGN bond auction, we had treasury bills auction, and then we also had OMO auctions as well as some maturity. So take us through what you feel were the highs for the market, starting from the equity side.
For the equities market, it started on a bearish note, as you mentioned at the start of the program, particularly on the back of the 10% decline in Zenith on Monday, and Dang was down as well on Monday. So those are the major drags to the benchmark index performance on Monday. So it was a very start to the week. It was the closure of Zenith's register last week Friday. So we saw a lot of profit taken in Zenith on Monday. But the market recovered, and it's been on a sort of bearish, bullish streak, a bullish streak since Tuesday. Week to date is up 0.7% as at market close on Thursday. We've seen a lot of bargain hunting in guarantee, in insurance space. We've seen bargain hunting in ContinSure. They had a fantastic performance in the full year numbers. We've seen the banking index. And the banking index was up 2.2% week to date as a market close yesterday. Insurance was up 2.0%. Consumer goods was up 1.5% on the back of Unilever's performance. The only outlier, as you mentioned, is the industrial goods, which was majorly dragged by Dangsem's performance. Industrial goods index was the only bearish sector. It was down 2.2% as a market close on Thursday.
Well, we're hoping to actually get a look at those slides, because we actually got that from you earlier on. So taking a look, for instance, for this week, one of the major market movers that actually turned in its corporate result was Total. Even though we've expected to see more than a bounce, give it a bounce to the market, it seems as if investors are quite tepid around this particular equity. Do you agree?
Total is a fantastic stock. A lot of analysts believe that Total is properly priced at the moment, so there might not be significant upside potential for this stock. But the company released a fantastic performance. Top line and bottom line improved year on year. Operational efficiency was also evident in their results. What we might see next week is a bit of bargain hunting in the stock. Because the stock declined yesterday, we might see for the sell-offs today as well. But we've sort of seen a trend in companies that have released their results recently. It happened with Guarantee, it happened with Access, happened with Dangsem as well. These companies released fantastic results, and there were sell-offs on the day that they released the results, and then we saw a bit of bargain hunting in the subsequent sessions. So we're not ruling that out with Total. We might see for the sell-offs today, of course, but next week we should see a bit of bargain hunting in this stock.
But then you also expect to see more liquidity, even though whenever there's an OMO auction or a PMA, we find most of the investors in the equities market exiting to the fixed income segment. That's normal. Do you expect that to continue, especially since we had quite, a heavy week as it is already?
For the fixed income market, there were a lot of activities in the fixed income market. That was where the show was happening this week. We had the DMO's monthly bonds auction. We had a commencement of the savings bonds as well. We had there was an announcement of an OMO auction on Monday, but no from the data that we got, there was no sales recorded on Monday. I think it was another OMO auction during the week as well. Then we had the treasury bills auction on Wednesday, which was oversubscribed. The bonds auction was oversubscribed as well, which shows that investors are actively playing in this space. The fixed income market still remains a sort of safe haven for investors to play in.
Okay, but then do you think that will likely continue next week? And that takes us down to one of the major stories that will definitely be shaping markets and other investors' expectations or sentiments, talking about the monetary policy meeting, and this is the second meeting for the year, and it's coming at a time when the economy is getting a breather of sorts.
Well, next week there's a T-bills auction as well. There's a T-bills maturity of about, I think, 135 billion naira, and there's a rollover of the same amount. So, of course, activities in the fixed income space would continue to...
Well, that happened yesterday, Wednesday into yesterday.
We'll have another auction next week, actually.
Okay.
We'll have another maturity auction next week, according to the data available on the central bank's websites, of course. For the MPC, we don't expect to see a lot of reaction on the equity side for expectation for the MPC meeting. General analyst consensus is that monetary policy rates will remain unchanged, and the MPC will sort of focus on allowing the fiscal guys implement the policy recommendations from the ERGP. So from the equities market, we don't necessarily expect to see a reaction on the back of the MPC meeting.
But what would come as a surprise for AfriInvest?
If the rates were changed. Because we expect, the thing is, inflation moderated in February, right? And the MPC guys might say, okay, they're targeting inflation, and now the inflation has dropped. There might be justification for dropping rates. But the expectations of a rate hike by the U.S. Fed, which means that emerging markets, government security might not be as attractive as they were, on the back of the macroeconomic issues, Also, that's a reason why they shouldn't necessarily consider cutting rates at the moment. And when you look at the current macroeconomic environment, the pressures are still there. Though we've seen an improvement in currencies, but the spread between the interbank and the parallel markets is still very wide, And so we need to continue to sort of incentivize investors to come into the Nigerian market. We don't expect, from AfriInvest, we don't expect monetary policy rates to be changed at this meeting.
Well, Ibrahim, thank you so much for coming on the program this morning and sharing your perspectives with us. Have a great weekend.
Thank you very much for having me.